On this episode of the Video Archives podcast, Quentin Tarantino and Roger Avary strike rich in The Gold Rush. A gold prospector, played by Charlie Chaplin, struggles to survive the elements while he tries to win the heart of a dance hall girl. Viewed all together at the new Beverly Cinema, Quentin and Roger discuss the reaction of the audience, the success of a physical, silent comedy, and directors who had the power to get stuff done. Next up, 91,000 people, 33 exit gates, 1 sniper. Quentin and Roger are in the stadium in 2-minute warning. Viewed on a Video Archives Laserdisc, Quentin and Roger share with us the history on 2-minute warning, its connections to Black Sunday, and how the various stories coalesce into one final shot. And to wrap up the night, a Crown International title, Pom Pom Girls, directed by Joseph Rubin. It's full of pranks, romps, and good old-fashioned cheer. Come on down to the game. It'll be a blast. I'm Gala Avary, and joining us now, here's Roger Avary and Quentin Tarantino.
And thank you, Gala. Welcome back to another episode of the Video Archives podcast, Kill That Bacalav.
And here we are. So we've got 3 movies to start with. Today we're going back and forth about what we should be starting with. We're starting off with Charlie Chaplin's classic, The Gold Rush.
Finally taking on a silent film.
Yeah, finally, it's about time we've taken on a silent film. Then we had the film 2-Minute Warning about the sniper at the Super Bowl with Charlton Heston and John Cassavetes in an all-star cast. And we ended off with my favorite, by far, Crown International epic, The Pom Pom Girls.
Yay!
Amongst other people, Robert Carradine.
Yay!
So we're starting off with the Charlie Chaplin classic, The Gold Rush. Now, we decided to start off with The Gold Rush for a couple of different reasons. One, we like the idea of a silent film, and we really like the idea of starting off with Charlie Chaplin. As a big fan, as I am, of both Buster Keaton and Harold Lloyd, which I kind of like better. I've kind of been giving myself over to Chaplin much more in the last 5 or 6 years. But one of the things about The Gold Rush that made it exciting, one is the new Beverly was having a screening of it, so we got to see it in gorgeous 35 millimeter. But also, of his big features where he plays the little tramp, the Gold Rush was the one that I actually hadn't seen. And the reason I didn't see that, as opposed to, like, say, Modern Times or City Lights or The Kid, is because that was one that we didn't have a commercial version of at Archives. We had one of the Crazy Lance versions of.
Yeah, where he would make the covers
He's just
himself.
making himself. And like, I was looking for it. I can't find it. And I think Lance took it with him instead. All right.
I think he took a lot of those homemade ones, the Z-Channel specials.
Yeah, I think he took that with him. All right. But it was actually always kind of cute to see his little homemade box there in the Charlie Chaplin section.
Yeah, I think Gabby, who did our logo design originally, also helped him.
I think she helped him with those boxes.
Yeah.
But consequently, though, I was so excited that they were showing it at the New Beverly, and then that was one of the features I hadn't seen. In fact, we all saw it together, and I think you remember when we were talking, I go, maybe halfway into this, I'm going to remember I've seen it before, but that didn't happen.
Yeah, I kind of feel like that about most Chaplin films. Like, I'm going to get halfway through and realize that I've seen it, but same with me. I wasn't recalling a lot of the amazing gags that are in this.
We have it on video cassette here, so I'm going to read this from a Vikings Classics. Vikings Classics. Those were the $9.99 videos that you would see at Vaughn's or Ralph's in a spinner rack by the shelf.
Yeah, public domain titles. Right. And
so this is on the orange box of the Gold Rush, Viking Classics, and the back of the box says, "The Yukon Gold Rush is the setting for this classic Charlie Chaplin comedy. Several of his most famous routines are included: dance of the dinner rolls, eating a shoe, and a cabin teetering on the edge of a cliff. Chaplin's Little Tramp is at his best. Approximate running time, 82 minutes." So, I'm a big fan of Chaplin's features. My favorite is The Kid, because of the climax. Is so heart-wrenching. But I also really like City Lights, and I like Modern Times as well.
And we were talking about his shorts, like
like the Rink.
The Rink is.
And so the Gold Rush was terrific. Roger, would you care to try to describe the story in more detail than Vikings did?
It's the Alaska Gold Rush, and everybody's up there. Hardened men are up there, and Chaplin makes a point of showing how intense and difficult the weather conditions are. And then he drops the tramp.
And he drops a little tramp in there.
A little tramp into the middle of this incredibly rough
and by the
conditions.
way, let me add that one of the things that was really great in watching the movie, especially watching it with an audience, was it shows the harshness of the conditions, the harshness of the frozen tundra. You see this line that goes down like 5 miles long or 9 miles long of people trying to climb up the peak. That could be a Robert Flattery documentary.
Yeah.
All right.
And apparently early on, his first attempt at making the movie, he went out into like Washington or up into the mountains there and was attempted to shoot for real up in the blistering conditions of the actual mountains. And I think some of that footage survives in early conditions. And then he came back and he was like, that's tomfoolery. I'm going to build it all here in Burbank.
And so after starting off with, like I said, these almost like documentary images of this frozen tundra wasteland, to just cut to a frozen peak and then have the little tramp, skipping
along.
Skipping along there with his like 2-button vest bursting at the seams and his a bowler
practically twirling his cane,
and his cane, his flat-footed walk. It brought the house down.
Yeah.
It was just a terrific piece of artifice to take in the movie.
And by the way, this was shown at like in the afternoon, like a family matinee. And so there were a lot of children in the audience. Well, and when you say brought the house down, it was like children squealing and giggling.
It wasn't just an evening screening. It was part of the kiddie matinee screening. And Julie McLean, we'll try from time to time. We show a lot of kids' movies there that are obviously designed for kids, but then she'll try to throw in a comedy classic from time to time. And then I usually try to go for those. And I'm usually like very excited that a lot of parents actually do bring their kids over. And I got into a conversation with a father and his son was like, and I go, oh, so you're going to see so I go to his like 11-year-old son or 9-year-old son, 9-year-old. Oh, so you're going to see the Gold Rush for the first time. Oh, no, he's already seen the Gold Rush. He likes the Gold Rush. He wants to see it again. Actually, but his favorite is the rink. But then the thing about it, though, was when you would hear laughter, you would hear children laughter.
Yeah, like squealing.
Yeah. You hear children laughter over here. You'd hear unaccountable giggling over there. You'd hear the adults laughing. But when Charlie Chaplin does the bread roll dance with the 2 forks and the bread rolls, just the uncontrollable giggling of this one kid that was sitting off to the right side. It was just the sweetest soundscape. All right, to watch like such a sweet comedy bit and for such a sweet moment in the movie.
It's a great tonic.
Yeah, it's a standard Gold Rush story, except now the little tramp is in there, and like a lot of Chaplin's features, it kind of breaks up into like 3 different sections. It's usually a bunch of characters he meets. He falls in love with some girl that is either sweet or innocent, or he thinks she's sweet and innocent, and he's kind of head over heels for her. And then there's usually some big gregarious guy that he meets along the way, and then then there's the situations that the little tramp is put into.
And in this case, the big guy is Big Jim McKay. He's literally big as in his name, played by Max Swain. They say he has a mine, but what it looks like is he has a pile of rocks at the peak of the mountain.
Well, what he's done is he's found
got his claim.
He's found Big Jim McLean has found a mountain of gold, which they say, and it's very similar to the way it's all set up, the way the Big Jim McLean story is set up. It's very similar to Gene Hackman's character in Nicholas Roeg's Eureka. Yeah. All right, where he like literally just like, oh my God, I found it. He's found this entire mountain of gold. I'm rich.
I've just got to get it off the mountain.
Yeah. And then he gets attacked and he loses his memory. Yeah. And so now he doesn't remember where it is. And then he gets caught in a blizzard. And then so both him and a bandit and Charlie Chaplin have to spend the winter together.
Yeah, the bandit Black Larson. And I love the name Black Larson. Yeah. He's got like wanted posters everywhere. And so like the Mounties or somebody is after him. The federal police or whatever.
So the way the movie works is usually about like a 20-minute sequence involving them trying to survive the blizzard. And then the blizzard eases up. Chaplin goes to the local Yukon saloon, meets the saloon girl that he falls for. And then that plays out for a little bit. And then it's about can Big Jim Larson and Charlie Chaplin find the little tramp, find that mountain of gold again.
Yeah, because he has amnesia.
Yeah, because the guy has amnesia. And then it's just, a lot of different big gags. I mean, like, this is not really a movie that there's actually much to talk about. It more is a movie to see. It's more of a movie to watch. We can't go into the intricacies of the plot because oddly enough, there is a nice little plot that develops, but it develops over the course of time. It's never telling you a story in a big way. You're just kind of following the adventures, all right? All done in like 20-minute bits, bite-sized bits of the little tramp in this frozen tundra situation. But by the time the movie is over, you do realize you have been told a story. Even though it's not hitting you over the head during the course of it, you realize you have gone through an adventure with the little tramp and you have been told a story. Now, for us to talk it out is kind of to talk it to death, all right? Because it almost needs to be seen and experienced. One of the things that I really liked about it, just the exquisite poetry of Chaplin's humor, the exquisite poetry of the filmmaking, of the classic imagery, in the film, which is something that comedies don't even remotely have anymore. They haven't had it for 50 years. It actually reminded me that I actually really do like movies like Westerns set in Alaska at this time. I'm a big fan of
this is like has a Hateful Eight moment in it, like hardwired.
I definitely
into
like
it.
that. I definitely like that. Obviously, I like snow Westerns, but I'm even going about the whole idea of like Westerns that take place in Nome or take place in a frozen prospector. Like
a frontier town.
Civilization
a true frontier
has built up around it. And one of the stories that I really, really like that's been remade a bunch of times is the Rex Beach novel, The Spoilers. I've never read the novel. But the movie versions are about like a saloon girl and two different guys who are battling it out in Alaska. Each movie always ends with a gigantic fight scene between the two guys, and it's like a big deal. And the biggest version of the movie is like the 40s version, and so the big fight is between John Wayne and Randolph Scott. But actually, I think the best version, the fight is the best version. Whoever has the best fight is the best version. All right, is the 50s version. All right, that has Jeff Chandler and Rory Calhoun, and that's a great fight at the end of that one. But even speaking of that, I'm a big fan of John Wayne's movie North to Alaska, which deals with the same story, and the same thing with this. I like the shanty town. I like I like the frozen streets and the frozen mud puddles, and
the cabin where they built it like constantly shifting, like
the cabin, the crooked cabin that looked like something out of Knott's Berry Farm.
Yeah.
And then this really great 20-minute bits, 20-minute like silent pantomime gags that Chaplin was amazing at.
Yeah, and there's this kind of elegant quality that people have seemingly almost returned to now with putting videos online, gags online. But this is like the beginning of that. This with its roots in vaudeville, and we see like these elegantly simple gag sequences played out. And I could go on all day talking about the wind gag where with the two doors. Exquisite.
The wind gag is never not funny. The wind gag is always funny.
Absolute brilliance. The tilting gag, which feels like it's been ripped off a million times since then. Him, because they're so hungry and trapped in this cabin and about to die. Him turning into a chicken and to the other guy. It was so freaking hilarious.
Yeah, it was hilarious and also weird.
Yeah, disturbing.
There was something disturbing about it. It had the feeling of a
cartoon, almost.
Those weird Little Red Riding Hood Mexican movies. All right, where things are there's like a disturbing element going on, despite the fact it's a kids' film. Same thing. There's also in March of the Wooden Soldiers.
Completely.
When they take the baby head, isn't it? They take a baby head and put it on a monkey.
It's disturbing.
All right, it's so fucking
There's nothing
creepy.
more disturbing. Okay, so, but with all these gags and all these like, and the bear, all these great like things that are happening, there was one that to me was like, I'm stealing that in the next thing I do. And that was the struggle for the shotgun.
Oh, that was great.
Where those guys struggling for that shotgun and it constantly like pointing at Chaplin at the tramp.
It's the two big barrel-chested guys are fighting over the shotgun, and wherever the barrel ends up going, it's always pointing at Charlie, and it goes everywhere.
Yeah. But no matter where he runs to and hides, they struggle in that. It's absolutely. It never got old for me. I could have watched that for an entire movie. I loved that.
And Chaplin was like definitely the first director out there that was like, "Hey, when I'm done is when I'm done." And he came up with this bit. I'm sure he probably had about 6 or 7 other bits that he shot for this movie and ended up not using them.
Yeah,
they didn't make the cut.
You mentioned a few directors who you felt like had that power, like through history, the power to. Well, really, I'm shooting until I'm done. Okay, now I'm done.
Okay, the only 2 people that I think had it time and time again is Charlie Chaplin and Jackie Chan.
Right.
At a certain point in the 90s, when his movies got to be so big that he had to out-top every single one of them. I had that on Kill Bill, and other people have had it on a movie, but not that's just your standard operating procedure.
We talked about Wong Kar-wai.
Wong Kar-wai wouldn't have it for a while.
Almost to the nth extreme with him.
Yeah, well, to a fault.
Okay, so there is one element in this movie where that I think it falters a little bit. Mm-hmm. And I think that when Chaplin re-edits the movie in 1942, he's attempting to correct that. Mm-hmm. And that's with Georgia, played by Georgia Hale, the love interest. Who's basically the kind of the thrust of the story at a certain point. It's like, will he get the girl? Mm-hmm. I mean, there's a little bit of like Starship Troopers there where the wrong girl at the end of the movie. Mm-hmm. But in this case, there is no other girl. She almost doesn't deserve him. I feel like in the original version that we saw, I was a little disturbed by her because she only goes with him in the end because he has made it. And
no, that's not true. Okay. I disagree. And I disagree for a couple different reasons. One, I like the idea.
Feels like an opportunist to me.
Well, I didn't say she wasn't, but that's one of the things I kind of like about her. Is that she's not one of Chaplin's too good to be true blind waifs that is just meant to be just this polypurebred innocent that is beyond reproach. I like the fact that she was a tramp. I like the fact
that she's also a tramp. Yeah,
she's literally a tramp. She's a big tramp. She's not a little tramp. She's a big
capital T.
But I'm not even saying that as a bad thing. She's a saloon girl in a Yukon saloon. I mean, like, what, you expect her to be the school marm? No, there's no kids going to school here. She's actually a legit character, I actually thought. And that's not what you normally say about the women in Charlie Chaplin movies. So I actually kind of liked that she was a three-dimensional character. The fact that they don't kill themselves to make her likable makes her more of a three-dimensional character than I think anybody else in the whole piece is. That's one. Two, when she changes her spots, I like the fact that she only changes them slightly. I like that it was like a bad idea to go to the house and make fun of him, and then she realizes, and not in like this completely throws her character out the window, just like, oh, guys, this isn't so funny. I mean, actually, I think that's a really good title card that they had there.
Yeah.
Okay, I think this joke has gone on too far.
Yeah, it's gone too far.
Yeah, I thought there was something to that, I thought.
But there's a big chasm between, like, let's not make miserable fun of this guy at his expense to, I'm going to marry you because you're wealthy.
We'll see what would happen. One, we don't know if they get married. We don't know anything. Maybe Charlie just gets lucky that night, all right? We don't know.
Okay, I'm going to go with that ending. Okay. I like that ending. That's a good ending. All right. That's the ending I'm going with.
But the point where she makes her bona fides, if you are a fan of The Little Tramp, is when she offers to pay his boat fare.
Yeah.
Not knowing that he's like, has $20 million now or whatever. All right, so that's where she earns her stripes. Look. Do I like Paulette Goddard, I think her name is, the girl in City Lights better? Yeah, of course I like the blind girl better.
She's designed to pull at your heartstrings more.
Yeah. Okay. Of course. Yeah. But I thought what you're complaining about. I actually thought it made Georgia Hale a more complex character.
Well, I think he married Georgia Hale.
I expected
after this. I think this broke up his marriage, and he married Georgia Hale.
I expect him to have married them all.
But
I'm not looking it up. But I'm sure he married them all.
Of course he did. Of course he did. But nevertheless, come 1942...
That was actually an older woman for him.
Come 1942, he is re-editing the movie. And I haven't seen this re-edited version. At least I don't think I have. But now I want to see it.
Okay, well, I want to bring in... I'll bring in one last thing before we bring in Gala. This is something I harp on when it comes to some of the silent movies, and especially when it comes to the silent movies that have a period patina.
There's a movie made in 1925 that takes place in 1875. So it's like
exactly. So like
50 years have passed. A generation has passed.
What falls into this category would be Chaplin's The Gold Rush, obviously Buster Keaton's The General, and also, and my favorite of the three, Harold Lloyd's The Kid Brother. Yeah. All right, they're all vaguely Westernish parodies to some degree or another going on. All three movies are hysterical. Very, very funny. Mm-hmm. Fantastic sight gags. All tell...
Three great artists.
Yeah, all tell their story really wonderfully. But what's there that has been lost is there is a poetry to the three films. And I'm not just talking about, in the case of Chaplin, the exquisiteness of his pantomime. Because, by the way, if you ask me, Harold Lloyd doesn't engage in pantomime. He's almost a very modern actor. When he does his movies, he never stops talking. Yeah, and then
they summarize.
The summarize will be broken down to one line, but he just never stops talking. But I'm not just talking about the exquisiteness of the pantomime. I'm talking about there is a beauty. There is a true beauty to the way the movie's filmed, the way it's staged, the props, the whole enchilada.
They're tapping into universal struggles also.
And that is a poetry that has been missing in comedy, I think, since sound came in, and definitely since color came in. Now, when I say that doesn't mean that, no, there has never been a poetic comedy made since the beginning of color or since the beginning of sound. But
you're just saying the standard is lower.
But they're far and few between, and they're usually qualified to one degree or another. Mm-hmm. But these movies have that. Frankly, I dare say it's a time where true artists were making comedies, and they did not consider it lesser to put their art into the movie. Now, Blake Edwards, when he does The Great Race, which is jumping off from this type of cinema.
It's a good analog, yeah.
All right. Obviously, Blake Edwards is putting all of his artistic ambitions into that movie in every way, shape, and form. But there's nothing beautiful about it. Almost its ugliness is almost part of it. The color is supposed to be garish. But there is a beauty to The Kid Brother. There is a beauty to The Gold Rush. Chaplin is not afraid for the film to be beautiful. He's not afraid to put his heart out on his sleeve. He's not afraid to call himself an artist when he makes this movie. And neither were those other two gentlemen. And I think that's what's been lost. Everything has now come down to the gag. Mm-hmm. The gag, the gag, the gag. And nothing was more important. But, well, no, I take that back. Chaplin, as much as he's about the gag, shows that there is something more important than the gag.
Well said. And we're back. And we're back with Gala.
And I'm about to sound really Gen Z right now, which, sorry guys, I'm going to show my age. I'm not Gen Z, but I fear that I will sound Gen Z. But man, silent films are just not my thing. Right. And comedy isn't really either, especially when it's like a main genre. Okay, that being said.
Do you mean like gag comedy?
Well, just like any comedy. Like well, whenever I like a comedy.
You just mean comedies in general.
Yeah, comedies in general are not my thing. Like, if comedy is like the second or third genre in a movie, I like the movie typically, but when it's like comedy first, I have a really hard time laughing in a theater, and I have a really hard time laughing at movies. I think that's evident. Like, I have an easier time crying during a movie. I cried at the Beethoven trailer when Beethoven played.
Trailer.
I think
the trailer.
I don't even like dogs, and I'm crying at the Beethoven trailer. I have a way easier time crying than laughing. I've only seen 2 Chaplin movies, including this. So Modern Times is the other one that I've seen. I've only seen one Harold Lloyd film, which would be Safety Last. And I've only seen 2 Buster Keaton films. So that's Our Hospitality.
Good.
And then if you count Sunset Boulevard, I guess that's the second one.
No,
He's an actor in that. That's like counting Muscle Beach Party.
Playing himself. Playing himself. Although you should, if you haven't seen Sunset Boulevard, get thee to Sunset Boulevard.
Yeah, so I've like, my silent film is like very distant, but you know what? I think that's because I don't think silent film should be viewed on a computer, on like a laptop.
I will go with that.
Or like even...
Well, I don't think any movie should be viewed on a computer, but especially not a silent movie.
Well, the TVs now
but
are
like
just
even
computers.
Yeah, like even like a TV, like I don't know if like I should be at home by myself watching a silent movie.
Whenever you say that, when you say computer, you're talking about on a laptop?
Yeah,
or
on my laptop. I do.
Okay.
I do watch it sometimes on a desktop. I guess I've watched on a desktop before, and I've watched on a laptop. I've watched on my phone.
You're basically like, you think this is a medium for the theater.
Oh, I think this is a medium for the theater for sure.
Okay, well, you saw it in a theater, so how did you feel about it?
But that's what I want to say. I want to say thank you to the parents who brought their children to this movie, because that made my experience so much better. I love seeing movies with audiences full of children. That's why I'm going to go see Puss in Boots and Paw Patrol.
It gave you license to...
it gives me license to giggle.
To crack open the hard exterior, the anti-comedy exterior.
That little girl sitting in that front row on the right side, if her father is listening, that was a magical experience. I got to like live through her. And then that kid in the back, who when there was a sign shown said, what does that mean? Like, what does that say?
He couldn't read the cards or anything, but he was still like loving the movie.
Still laughing. And so for me, it's like, that made my screening so much better. And that actually made me love The Gold Rush. Hearing all the...
Did you love it?
I did love it. Because, okay, there are certain gags. Of course, like we're going to talk about the bread.
We're sounding a lot less Gen Z. You're sounding a little bit more Gen X at this point.
Okay, thank God. I'm in that millennial territory.
Well, you started it off with saying, hey, look, that's not my bag. And then you dug deeper.
Because I would never choose to watch a silent movie. Like if I was off,
you had to be dragged by Quentin and Roger to,
or watch 2 Minute Warning. Oh, you know what I'm going to be picking every single time. But like you guys mentioned, like the gags, like the dinner rolls.
Well, but if Chaplin made a movie about a sniper at a football game,
I'd be watching. But you guys like talk about.
I'd watch that.
Yeah, totally watch that movie. The little tramp is a sniper.
That sounds amazing. Like a doughboy?
Yeah, doughboy.
Yeah, that would be amazing.
You guys mentioned like the dinner rolls, and of course you mentioned like the first trek with the bear, when the bear comes out, and the bear in every single scene, like when the bear comes out, and then when the bear just like randomly shows up in the cabin, it's like everyone's gonna be there, and then he's like hugging onto the bear, and he's like hugging onto that bear.
I love the bear. Yeah, it's like that.
And we haven't even mentioned like the most classic scene. As funny as it is, it was not my favorite though. Was they're starving to death and they eat
the shoe.
And they eat Charlie's shoe.
Yeah, actually, you were. I think you ran out just briefly out of the theater, and then you came back like in the middle of it. But I had seen that shoe thing before, just in clips.
Yeah.
But watching it again, the one thing that I had never noticed that I'd never seen was him like
the nails.
The nails is a stroke of genius. That's what takes it to the next level.
Yeah, well, you expect that it's getting to its whole thing when he eats the shoelaces like spaghetti.
Yeah.
All right. That's going to be the height of it. But when he actually just starts eating the nails
like they're fish bones or something.
Yeah, like they're fish bones.
Chicken bones.
That was perfect.
Yeah, that was amazing.
So I like the shoe. Pretend the running into the wind is really funny. But my favorite gag, besides the gun, because the gun is really excellent, my favorite gag is when he wants to go into that cabin because he's really cold, like the second cabin, like once he's in the town. And so he lays down and he pretends to be frozen. And the guy comes and he scoops him up. And Charlie Chaplin has like the abs of steel. Like I don't know what he's doing, but he is able to stay as like a plank the entire time.
Right, he's just one of the great physical actors of all time.
He's one of the most physically fit guys. Yeah, he was well known. He's like a gymnast, basically.
And also, he's like super handsome when he's not in his tramp uniform. Like when you see photos, and I was like, oh wow, Mr. Chaplin, you're so handsome.
Well, he was a ladies' man.
Well, obviously, if he's marrying every woman. Speaking of women, Georgia. Okay, I think my dad's dislike
Speaking of Georgia.
My dad's dislike of Georgia, I think, comes from me because I'm like, oh, like this tramp. Okay, he's like a hobo, but he's still a good man. He's like.
When you
shoveling,
say hobo, what you're saying
he's traveling for work. He's technically kind of a hobo because he's traveling for work.
Though I think he's ideologically.
We always talk about like this difference between like hobo and tramp. My dad and I have this
like a bum. Like a bum is a bum.
We have this long-standing discussion.
Ideological.
Tramp and hobo are similar, especially
hobo's looking for work.
Well, he is looking for work. He is looking for work. He's there at the gold rush. He's taking care of someone's house. He's shoveling snow.
No,
this is my point.
Like they all looking for work, even if it's just washing bottles. All right, for a day or chopping wood for a day.
Well, hobos are, but tramps. Tramps are tramps.
Okay, well, it doesn't matter. I'll call him a tramp.
Figure in France.
I'll call him a tramp, Dad. Okay. Anyway, though, he's really working.
I don't know if the vagaries of the slang of 1910 is where you guys shine, but go ahead.
Okay, this is my problem. Georgia. I'm going to get to my Georgia problem because he's really working it. Like, he's shoveling snow. He's getting those Christmas crackers. He has nothing, but he's going to give it all to these girls.
He makes a beautiful dinner, sets a dinner for them.
And Quentin is right. She does at one point say, well, Quentin is right, though. She does say this joke has gone too far, and that is her potential redeeming moment, but it's sullied by the letter that comes in the scene afterwards, where she writes, "I love you so much,"
and sends it
to the bad guy.
Yeah,
she doesn't write the letter.
Larson.
Oh,
she doesn't.
So a woman choosing the wrong guy.
Well, because she really does love that, or she is claiming to love that guy. I mean, a dance hall girl is a hooker? Like, is she technically a prostitute? Is that what they're alluding at?
Not always.
Actually, in the Yukon,
yeah.
So I mean, maybe
no. Okay. It's not on the shingle outside the door in the Gold Rush, but if this were McCabe and Mrs. Miller, yeah, she's fucking.
Well,
and actually, there is probably something to be said about one of the reasons you're up there is because you're going to grab a man who just struck it rich.
Yeah.
That might be in your trajectory. You might be thinking that.
Yeah, and I'll soften on her a little bit because of that. Like, she's a woman in a bad situation. She needs to cling on to someone that could give her something better.
She could be Sunny.
Yeah, Sunny.
Times were tough in 1870.
Yeah, a tramp isn't going to do that for you. So I guess in the end, like when she's kind of leaving the Yukon because it didn't really work out for her, she didn't get the guy, and then she shows like, hey, I'll pay his fare. Okay, that's nice, but come on, Georgia, she's the worst. Like I don't want him to end up with Georgia.
Does she deserve to marry him and get half of his $20 million fortune? No, I didn't say that.
That's why I like your ending.
No, your assessment that he's just getting lucky. I'm okay with that.
No, I am too.
And look, it's also it is a. And again, it's one of those things where you're also kind of going with the, with the format of the film genre, and especially when it came to famous comedians doing things like that. But that is a structure of most of their comedies, is that they're in love with the beautiful girl that's like way, way, way out of reach, and them trying to get her is the basis of. Like
that is the thrust of the story.
8 out of 10 comedy star vehicles.
Yeah, and to me in the beginning of like when she's first introduced, she has a very like Mae West quality to her because she's always shrugging off the guy. I like that.
You got to be. In the Yukon, you've got to be.
I thought she was kind of a badass.
That's what I meant at the beginning.
So did Chaplin, apparently.
Yeah, no, I kind of dug her cat. And I thought it boded well for her character as a character to not just be a tool for the little tramp to either go ooh or ah over. Mm-hmm. I like the fact that she didn't exactly do things that were convenient for us to how we feel about her.
She's a real character.
And that's a character.
You're saying she's a real character.
Yeah, that's a character. That makes her a character.
She's not a comedy prop.
Yeah, she's not a comedy prop. That's a really good
way to put it. She's not a prop. She's a character. Yeah. Anyway, it's undeniably good. Like, anyone can watch this movie, even if you're like me, you don't like silent films, you don't like comedy as much.
You're just some jaded Gen Z TikToker.
No, don't. Excuse me. Don't label me. Don't aggress me.
So Gala's big take is, guess what? Comedies are actually better with audiences laughing.
Yeah. That is my take, you guys. I know it's a foreign.
Gala,
it's foreign.
You. Thank you.
I know it's a foreign concept.
People listen to this show to come up with cinematic advice that they can use in a way that can be relevant to their lives. And I think that they've learned something here today.
Yeah, and that the best audiences are at the New Beverly.
And the best audiences are also children.
Okay,
So-
do all three.
So for anyone who wants to watch this, I think you should go to a theater to see it. But if you're not so lucky to be living at a place near like the New Beverly,
Get all your friends together.
get all your friends together and watch it together. It is on YouTube for free. The version that's on YouTube is 1 hour and 17 minutes long. I believe that is the 1925 Criterion reconstructed
what we have,
version,
yeah.
which is what we watched all together.
Cockamamie narration. Yeah.
Yes. Okay. So my VHS that I picked up off of eBay, I got it for $2.99. It is an Alpha Video, and mine is the cockamamie 1942 version with sound and narration. So if
I want
anyone's
to see that one next.
interested
I
in
wanna watch
seeing
that.
it to see what the differences are, I have it.
Okay.
To hear the rest of this episode, including discussions of 2 more movies and our award winners, sign up for the Video Archives Patreon. You'll get access to full Video Archives episodes, the Video Archives After Show, exclusive merch, and more. Head on over to patreon.com/Video Archives to subscribe today. The Video Archives podcast is hosted by Quentin Tarantino and Roger Avary and produced by Josh Richmond and Gala Avary. Find out more about the show and get Video Archives merch at videoarchivespodcast.com. You can also find us on Twitter at Video Archives and on Instagram at Video Archives Pod.